Well, Ray, it's nice to see you back in Mississippi again.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back here and bringing a few toys.
I see you've got 50th anniversary here on your shirt.
Yes, sir.
And this radio's got 50th anniversary on it, too.
Yes, it does. Yes, I'm dressed in red for December.
So you brought this new rig here, this Icom IC-7850.
Yes, sir. It's been actually kind of fun for the last couple of hours playing around with it and comparing it to what you're used to with your 7700.
It has been, and I've learned a few things. A lot of it is very similar to the to my 7700, and I assume the 7800s, but there are a few new things on here that tickle my fancy, I would say. There's only going to be a limited number of these, from what I understand. This is serial number 000.
Of 150, yes.
150. So how many of these do you think we'll get in the U.S.?
We're trying to negotiate for as many as we possibly can, but it's looking like we're going to have 40 units for the U.S., Central, and South America.
You know, it's a mighty nice looking radio. The side panels here are very impressive. What did you say that color reminded you of?
That color, because of my background growing up, was automotive and in a body and fender shop. The color scheme reminds me a lot of the old Oldsmobile 442.
Yeah, it does kind of look like that, and of course it's a glossy black finish here on everything else. It does look like a Yamaha grand piano. A really slick looking rig here, and of course the rear panel, we'll take a look at that. There's a lot of connectors back there. I think there's a few more than there is on my 7700.
Well, yes, and one of the biggest differences between the 7800, the 7850 to your 7700 is the second receiver.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that we've taken pride in with the 7800 and as well as the 7850 is two completely identical receivers.
And so two receivers at once, and I assume you can put any two bands on here?
Any bands that you want. You can 160 to 10, 6, if you want to listen to a 6 meter opening while you're sitting there rag chewing on 10, 15, 20. The performance on 80 and 160 is very impressive.
And you can have two signals in the same bands on the two scopes at once?
Yes, sir, you can.
Okay.
And that's one of the nice things about the new 7850 is you can have both scopes, one for your main band and one for your sub band simultaneously on the screen.
Now that is nice. Now the 7800 didn't have that, did it?
No, it did not have that capability.
And I'm also noticing that the scope here seems to be running a little faster than it runs on my 7700.
It runs a lot faster.
So they made some nice improvements on this. Of course, the gold accents on everything on it really makes this radio stand out. And like you say, there's not going to be many of them around. So I'm going to ask you, and I'm sure this radio does it too. There was a recent upgrade in the firmware for the 7700 and the 7800. Is this radio got that capability, and have they expanded on it some?
With the 7800, we got the remote base operation server built into the radio. That's in the 7850. The waterfall. Mm-hmm. Now with the dual receivers and dual scopes, you have the dual waterfalls on it. So there's a lot more horsepower under the hood here to play around with.
Well, the one thing you mentioned there is the remote control server built into it. You know, that's what the firmware added to my 7700. You just plug a LAN cable back here in the back, plug it into your network. You don't need a computer in the shack at all. This rig will handle it by itself, and I have thoroughly enjoyed that on my rig. And I know anybody who gets one of these is might as well set that up. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's so easy to set up.
Oh yeah, and I'm excited to see what the full-blown radio looks like. The one that I brought here, George, is one of the prototypes that we saw photos from the Tokyo Ham Fair, mm-hmm. then Friedrichshafen, and then at the National Convention in the UK. So this one's been on the road a lot more recently and not on the engineer's desk. So mm-hmm. we're playing around with a prototype right now. Okay, George, you got to show Tommy.
All right, let's do it. Oh, must be my radio.
Nice one, George. When I wasn't looking, you programmed that in, huh?
Yeah, I didn't know how to do that much with it. That was pretty quick. Came right up. I'd say probably just slightly faster boot speed than what I'm used to on the 7700.
Well,
And it's doing a lot more.
oh yeah. And we're out here on your hangout here, and let's get a little bit of what we're listening to right now.
Oh, we're listening to some guys on 3850 right now. Most of them up in the, I guess, the northern Midwest, I think. But there could be some, some folks out of the Northeast in there as well.
Well, one of the things that you do when you bring up a radio is you start setting it up for your filtering and that.
Yeah.
Just like on your 7700, your filtering is located up here by the twin passband tuning.
Mm-hmm.
So we can toggle through our filtering. That's what you're already normal to.
And we're seeing the bandwidth change right here as to how wide a bandwidth we're watching.
Yes, sir. Now when I push and hold,
Okay, yeah, that brings it up where you can actually get a visual representation of it there.
now we've got the filter set for soft on the shape, but we can come here and go sharp.
And when you do that, you hear that extra top end come in
Yeah.
because it's going all the way out to the filter width.
Yes, it does, and get more of a crystal type filter sound right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like on the rest of them, your roofing choices. But here's a new one, George, 1.2 kilohertz.
Yeah, I don't think mine has that.
One of the things that we've seen, one of the trends in the industry is to go to a down conversion type receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And Icom has stayed away from going to the down conversions because the benefit of the down conversion is to be able to get tighter filters in the front end.
Yeah.
We're staying up at an up conversion receiver to keep your IMD products a lot lower. But the 1.2 is a new addition.
Yeah, that is. So this radio, really, it's all about the receiver, isn't it?
It really is. And there's enhancements done to the transmit, but like I said, this is a prototype right now. We haven't seen everything about it. One of the things I want to show is going back through, there's a new function, so we'll toggle through the roofing filters again. Here is your 15 kilohertz.
And that sounds mighty good if there's nobody right beside you.
That's correct. Now we'll go to the next one, which is a 6 kilohertz.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now we'll go to 3 kilohertz.
And you can hear it starting to take effect around here.
Yes. Now we'll go to the 1.2. There's a new function, though, that came up that was not there on the other ones, and it's the ADJ.
Yeah.
From playing around with it, it's a roofing filter calibration. From 0%
Oh, yeah.
to 100%. Now, this is an interesting button.
That's,
You can either go default,
mm-hmm.
but cal.
Yeah.
Now, I push and hold it. It goes through a process, and you can see on the S meter something's happening.
And it decided the best spot was 34% here.
Yes. Now, be interesting to see in a crowded band in a contest what it will do, but I know K3LR is not going to let me monkey around with a radio during a contest.
No, probably not. And he would be wise for that, right?
We just hit the exit to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned earlier when I did this the last time, roofing filter at 1.2, but the first filter is set at 3.6.
Right. Yeah.
So let me go back to default.
Yep.
The goal is as you get narrower, so that's a 1.8, and then we toggle that to a 1.2.
Mm-hmm. And these are in series. The roofing filter comes first, and then it's the regular filter, correct?
When we introduced the 7800,
Mm-hmm.
the brochures always talked about the first IF filter.
Yeah.
And that is the true name of what it is. But ham slang, it's a roofing filter.
Yeah. So the other filters out here, the main filters, those are actually after the roofing filter. Then.
Yes, they're actually with the 7800, 7700, 7600 in this radio. It's dual conversion. So the first IF or the roofing filter is your up conversion. Then your second set of filters are going to be in your second conversion, which is tied to the DSP. Okay, George, still some of the things that feel familiar with you on your 7700 is a bandwidth change, where you can dial in what you want. When you're done, you click it out.
Right.
When you make adjustments, you have both of them together as IF shift. Or when you move them in opposite directions. The filter still stays at 3 kilohertz wide, but we're showing here 1.7, and in the audio you can hear it.
Yeah.
And we can shift it, so that's a 1.6 filter that way.
And you can center it where you want it on the frequency to cut out the adjacent signals.
Right. And then very quick and easy, push button clear. Same circuitry for the Digicel, the APF, the notch filter. All of those things come into play.
So you mentioned earlier about the dual band scopes on there. How would we go about looking at that?
Well, we've got the soft keys here with the menu selection right above it on the screen. We've got the M/S dual. You push and hold it. But right now we have no activity on the sub band. The reason why, we've got it turned off. When we hit dual watch, that activates the sub band, and now you have signals on both.
Okay.
Now, while on your 7700 you have the volume control and RF gain, this one is for the main band, this is for the sub band.
Right.
So you have identical controls in the same position.
Just like you would expect.
Okay, one of the cool things about the dual watch is I go ahead and I turn it off, the audio goes away, you see the signal on the band scope goes away. If I push and hold dual watch, it synchronizes the two.
Okay, so now I can move up and down from that spot.
Yes. And then the smaller knob takes care of the sub band. You have a tuning step control for it. So right now we're at 1 hertz tuning resolution.
So very precise.
So very precise. I can come to a higher rate.
Oh yeah, make huge steps. So this one's displaying all the way down to 1 hertz.
Yes. And you can turn it off by pushing and holding the TS button, and that takes them both to 10.
So that's pretty slick. So say I'm sitting here operating on the main band, but I hear something or somebody over on the sub band I want to talk to. How would I do that?
Well, right here we have the main band lit up. All we have to do is click over to the sub band.
And now I'll be transmitting over there.
Yes, sir. And you'll see not only this indication to say sub lights up, but you also see the characters on the screen light up and these go dark. So when I go main, I can do that. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is hitting the change button, and it flips them
just
both.
Swaps them. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
That allows you for the tuning knobs you want to use. When you hit the change, it's going to use your main tuning knob. When we flip them over, we come sub. Now this is my tuning knob all the time. This is my main tuning knob, but now I transmit on this side.
Yeah.
As I was mentioning on this side, where these two controls, main and sub, you have noise reduction and noise blanker, main and sub. Your AGC variable, noise reduction, noise blanker, these buttons turn them on and off. Here's your adjustments for them. Your AGC control, but here's for the sub. So everything from this point is duplicated, but main and sub.
Very cool.
When you come over to this side of the radio from the top down, we have main and sub for your twin passband tuning, for your Digicel and notch, main and sub. RIT control, transmit, and CW pitch.
Yep.
But then down below, you've got your tuning step controls for each individual, speech for each one, or locks.
Wow.
So if you're using this waiting for, say you're rag chewing on 20 and you're waiting to see if the band opens up on 40 or 80, You can lock this one so you don't accidentally bump it off frequency. It's going to stay there.
Right. Just turn up a little bit of the RF gain there.
Why would you want to do that?
So I don't have to listen to the noise. I can just listen to the signals I want to hear.
But you can also go this route with it.
Well, true. I can do that.
And that's one thing you mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
The
I noticed there's some difference here in the noise reduction. I've noticed it seems like if I go way on over with it, it's doing things it couldn't have done before. It's like it's digging in a little deeper.
And it's keeping the signal clear.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There is a little bit of a drop in the audio level, but is it the signal that's disappearing or the noise around it?
I still hear the signal with it wide open. So I would say, and I don't guess we know for sure, but I think they did something with this knob, Ray.
Well, they would have done it for both of them.
Well, yeah, yeah, I believe that.
Well, we played around on phone for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show you some of the things on CW.
Yeah, show me that. I'm not a big CW fan, but I know there are a lot of people run CW on this this series of radios.
Okay, George, we're going to use your mouse here and show a few things. This is still very similar to what you do with your radio. But look at right in this area.
Yeah, I see at least 3 different signals there, maybe even more.
Now, what I'm going to do is show you a new function that we have in here. It's called Edge.
Uh-huh.
It allows me to toggle through 3 settings for the scope width in the fixed mode. I could use the mouse and click Fix and go to Center.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to see all the signals here and we can navigate. I can adjust the width of it.
And you're just clicking on that with the mouse.
Yes, sir. All the way to plus or minus 500K.
Okay. And that's 2.5, so that's very narrow there.
So let's go back to the fixed mode. We're at 3.526.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go into the set mode and scroll down in the menu. And this is still the same as what you've got on your radio. I've got to go to, so we're at 3.526. I'm going to bring this to 3.520 and 352.
And so you're just making it 5 kilohertz wide there.
Right. We're going from 3.52 3.520 to 3.525. So here's the guy sending here.
So that's 5 kilohertz of bandwidth that we're looking at right here.
Yes. But now what we can do with the mouse,
Just choose one of them.
now we're still at 3 kilohertz. We're in sideband. Let me go ahead and go to CW mode. That's 1.2 kilohertz. There's 500. There's 250.
Wow. I don't hear any of these guys over here on the edges.
George, what we're going to show here is using the regular band scope. We've got it clicked in for the sub band.
Mm-hmm.
And we're running in dual watch with split.
Okay.
So in this configuration, my receive side is over here, my transmit side's over here, but I'm listening to both. So we're hearing this guy over here.
Yeah.
But what I'm moving right now is my transmitter with the subband, so I'm transmitting over here. So if I'm transmitting all the way over here, that's a pretty wide pileup.
Right. Yeah.
And how we would hear that is we'd turn down our receiver, and here's the other side of the pileup.
Yeah. If you could kind of figure out where he was working and how far he was moving each time, You could probably just pick you out a good frequency and just click on it, and you're there when he comes to it.
Yes. One of the things that I notice on the 7850, real quick, for memory management, is the devices that you can use.
Yeah, I see there's an SD card slot here now.
Yes, we had the compact flash in the 7800,
Yeah.
USB for the 7700,
Right.
and now we have an SD card on the 7850.
But it says USB right here beside it. I guess that's for the USB ports in the rear. You can know that they're being used.
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
But in the memory, you can either use the SD or the USB for memory.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And there you go, George, you firm up. So there's firmware updates.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the settings are still the same. Menu system for level, accessories, display, time, and others.
Yep.
There's your network.
Right. Mm-hmm. And you got multiple users.
Multiple users, all your UDP information, your network controls. Okay, George, this is also something that's similar as what's on your 7700, and that's for your sideband receive high pass, low pass. We can set it up for the tonal quality that you want.
Yeah.
You can either just do it with bass reduction, increase it, treble,
Oh, yeah.
or we can come here, roll off.
And just set your own bandpass there. Not that I really do a lot of contesting or de-expeditions or anything like that, but you know, I still like comfort in my receive audio is if I can have it.
Well, it's not only for contesting and DXing and things like that, but when you sit there and you're rag chewing, you got others in the house that might not want to listen
Right.
to things that you enjoy. You're going to be under headphones for a period of time. That can give you a lot longer duration of listening, or listening pleasure, I should say, to
Yeah.
where you don't have all that static.
Well, I think it could, like you were going there, gives you a lot longer time of listening. I mean, in the lifespan of your ears, if you're sitting there constantly, you know, listening to a lot of noise and hiss, you know, you're probably damaging your hearing if you've got it up too loud.
Well, George, I appreciate you allowing me to come in and bring this new radio to show you and play around with. We didn't go in as depth as we have on some of the other radios because it looks and feels just like a 7800. The changes that have been done to it, we can't show on camera.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all internal.
Internal as well as a performance. I mean, some of the performance enhancements folks would notice on a modest antenna, but this is like trying to put a race car in a 30-mile-an-hour school zone. Well, Ray, thanks for stopping by and bringing that 7850 with you. Boy, what a nice radio. You know, I'm looking forward to hearing some of these on the air.